guest. She is in the National Guard. Is that right, Maddie?
Yes.
You joined in 2008. So you're working on 3 years.
Yep, 3 years on the 26th.
And what do you do in the Army? What is your specialty?
My specialty is a 68 whiskey, which is also a combat medic.
You are a combat medic.
Yes.
Why did you decide you wanted to be a combat medic, or was that assigned to you?
It was a combination of both. I went into the recruiter's office by myself. Of course, at the time I was 17. My dad freaked out, wanted to be in there. I was looking at a whole nother MOS. I don't remember what it was. And he's like, talked into the recruiter. No, she's going to be a medic.
The recruiter said that?
No, my dad said
Your
that
dad
to
said
the recruiter.
That. Ah.
And here I am now as a medic, but I would never take it back. It's probably the best job out there.
Really?
A little biased, but yes.
You've been in three. Now tell me what it's like to serve in the National Guard. Did you go into for basic training for a while?
Yes, I went to your active duty for all of your training, and then you come back, and for National Guard and most reservists, it's 2 days every month. So you usually go on a weekend, and that's 2 weeks a year, and they're usually planned out months in advance, so you're able to take off work or school.
Do you go up to Camp McCoy?
No, we usually drill out of our armory, which is based out of Milwaukee.
Okay.
Or sometimes we do head to Fort McCoy because there is, being medical, there's a lot more training opportunities up there. We use sim mannequins, which are the same used in hospitals. So we learn procedures like intubating, and everything.
I asked about Fort McCoy because, as I recall, a lot of times they would take their 2 weeks in Fort McCoy.
Oh, yeah, every year.
And you go up in convoy? You go up in a convoy, or you just kind of meet up there?
We have a lot of our FLAs, our medical ambulances up there, but we'll usually do a convoy with some of the vehicles in our armory up there, and then we'll spend 2 weeks there, and I think we pulled 36-hour medical rotation shifts during the 2 weeks.
36 hours at a crack?
36 hours. I think I'd have a 36-hour shift, and then I'd get 12 hours off, but that wasn't really off because we'd still be doing training, and then you'd be back on a 24, 36-hour shift.
Would you be awake for 36 hours straight?
Depends. If somebody was nice enough to let you sleep, then you fell asleep.
Why? Well, I suppose real combat conditions is what they're trying to train you for.
Yeah, and the infantry like to get hurt during this last AT. I mean, I helped with my first stitches. We had a guy who broke his nose. We had 3 broken legs, and my platoon specializes in evacuation, so we head over to Sparta and take them to the hospitals if we can't do anything more about it.
Wow. What do you do when you're not serving in the Guard?
I'm in school, and then I also have a full-time job.
Where do you work? Where do you go to school?
I've just transferred from Marquette to UWM for biomedical sciences.
And what do you want to do when you graduate?
Dentistry.
Really?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Now let me ask you about your basic training. How long did that last? When you first went in, how long were you in full-time?
Quite a few months. Basic training is supposed to be 9 weeks, but my reception was 2, so I was there for 11 weeks. And then I headed down to Fort Sam Houston in Texas. That was supposed to be 16 weeks, but I ended up staying in reception for 4 weeks, so it ended up being 20 weeks.
What is reception?
Reception is pretty much where you wait around until there's enough people to start a class.
Oh boy, what do you do during that time?
Wait around. We actually sat around on the drill floor, and we weren't allowed to do anything. We had to look forward, and we would just sit there or exercise for hours. And they would come out and give us some training, but they couldn't start us earlier than anybody else to give us an advantage.
So you did that like 8 hours a day, just waited around basically, did a little exercise? Or?
Yeah.
And then go to bed and do the same thing over the next day until they decide they have enough people to start training you in earnest.
That's about it. We were on lockdown. Like, we would sit there and we couldn't make a sound. They gave us books to read on military history because we couldn't learn on our medical training yet. And if they heard us being too loud, they'd come out, they'd be like 2 laps, and you had to pretty much crouch down and waddle around the lot. And that is painful after a while. This was a big circle.
So waiting to get in. Hurry up and wait. I think I've heard that
That's
about
basically it. They didn't have any other choice because, I mean, I came in, there wasn't many of us. There was maybe 20, and all of a sudden, everybody else showed up 3 weeks later. I think there was 370 people that showed up later, and then we started our training.
What kind of training do you receive as far as when you're a medic?
Well, what they're doing right now, and it's very nice, is that they put us through an EMT class. That is the first few weeks, and you end up coming out with a national certificate for that. And then you go to the what they call whiskey side, which is the whole military thing. I mean, some of the rules just go out the window. We are allowed to do shots, blood draws, IVs. That's not allowed in the civilian side for EMTs, but we're allowed to do that. Basically, focused more so on trauma as opposed to where EMTs will focus more on respiratory.
Mm-hmm. So are you finished with your medical training at this point then?
Yes, I finished that in 2010.
So you're officially qualified as an Army medic?
Yes, I will be teaching, I believe, 4 different units next month to train them on basic certification for the minimal amount that they have to do to stay in the Army.
Mm-hmm. What is your plan as far as staying in the Guards?
I will probably continue on with this. My contract still is 3 years, and then there are contracts that you can sign up for. I'm looking at one right now that will allow me to pay for graduate school and then just re-enlist as soon as I'm done with that.
Mm-hmm. When will you be graduating from college?
I probably have another 5.5 years after grad.
Oh,
By the time I finish
and then
graduate school.
and then you'd be back in the service.
You'd be back in, I believe, for dental school or most medical schools. If you take a break like that and then you re-enlist, I believe it's automatic captain. So.
Mm-hmm. Now your unit is in Milwaukee. You said?
Yes.
Okay. And now you're a combat medic.
Mm-hmm.
What is the rule as far as women in combat? If you're a medic, you're certainly going to be up on the front line, I would think.
It's kind of a hard topic because it can happen. They try not to. It's kind of the loophole in combat. There's been females who've been more on the front lines, but they tend to keep us in hospitals or as support.
Mm-hmm. Are you enjoying it?
I am.
Why?
I moved here from Minnesota, and some of the first people I met were the people in my company. I've known them for almost a year and a half, and they're probably some of my best friends. There's a great camaraderie that people have been through the same thing, and they're all just a great bunch of people.
You said, so you're in the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to school,
Yes.
and you have a full-time job.
Yes.
What is your full-time job?
I'm a blackjack dealer at Potawatomi.
Get out. Really?
Yes.
Will you give some lessons after we're done?
Maybe.
How? Boy, I could spend an hour and a half talking to her about that. Would you want to go overseas?
I'm a little afraid to, of course, just because, especially listening to the stories, but I would actually like to. There's something that I feel like I'm missing because I didn't go with my unit and they all went together, and it's about that time. I have 3 cousins who've been deployed already. One of them's still over there, and just feel like that's one of those things that I need to do before I get out.
I think you were telling us before we went on here, you just missed being deployed?
Yes. I transferred from Minnesota, and they just got back, and then once I got back, 2 months later, Minnesota got their orders to go overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So my friends from high school that I talked into it all left, and they write me angry emails when they first got the orders. You enlisted and you left us? Yeah, sorry about that.
And here you are.
Yes.
What about the employers? I know we run public service announcements urging people to hire people who are in the Guard and in the Reserve and the like. When you applied at Potawatomi, was being in the Guard an issue at all?
No. There are certain employers who work with you, and there's certain employers that it doesn't really matter. But then there's some that it does bother them, so they just kind of throw you under the rug before you even get hired.
Mm-hmm.
So they won't hire you.
Is there a recruitment campaign for the Guard, or are there enough people, or is there constant recruiting going on?
Oh, there's constant recruiting.
What kind of jobs can you get in the Guard?
Anything that you can do in active duty. I mean, we have recruiters, we have field artillery, we have infantry. Right now, the statistically, National Guard and reservists have been deployed more than active duty soldiers.
Really?
Yes.
That's surprising.
It makes sense if you think about it, because there's people, they have to watch the bases. I mean, when Fort Sam got sent over when I was in training, it was a ghost town. Who's running? And for National Guards people, it's easier to just send them, but that's why people are upset, because we're supposed to be leaving next year, 2013. They just got back in 2010. So that's a little different.
So you're enjoying your experience in the Guard.
Yes.
What would you say to young people who are thinking about some kind of service? What would you say to them about joining the Guard?
I'd say, like, everyone has different routes. Certain people will, active duty is a fit for them. They want to get away, they want to have something to do, that's perfect for them. But for people who feel like they want to serve their country, or even if they want to do that, they should. I mean, you get money for school, and you get to fulfill the commitment that you have. I think everybody should do some time in the military. It's great. It changed me. I used to be very, very shy, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. And I mean, my dad picked up MOS, and now I'm trying to stay in the medical field as much as I can. And my little brother, he didn't know what he was going to do. He's about time for him to start enlisting, and we're already talking to him, because this is how he's going to get his foot in, to see how he likes engineering, so we're trying to get him into the engineering corps of the National Guard. But what's nice is, if you enlist right now, you can have something called College First, where you don't worry about being deployed for 2 years, and you can just focus on school.
Does the Guard pay for part of your schooling then?
They pay up to the UW-Madison rate, which is $8,500.
A semester?
Yes, a year.
A year?
Yeah, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to UW-Milwaukee, and it's covered. Then they have the GI Bills, which came into effect after, I believe, World War II, and that's usually $350 to $780 a month, and that's for books, housing, any living expenses that you need, because they want you to learn, they want you to succeed, they want you to come out and have an education, and they definitely want you to stay in.
So what is a basic commitment if you sign up for the National Guard in Wisconsin?
2 days a month, 2 weeks a year.
For how many years?
6 years.
And then, as you said, you have to go in for your basic training.
No, that's done.
Oh, really?
You
I
do
mean, no, I mean, if someone would sign up today.
Yeah, you sign up. You can sign up at 17. As soon as you're 18, you can leave. They have another thing that they offer is split training. So for the high schoolers that enlist, or people in college, they can do basic combat training one summer, go to school, and then they can do their advanced training the next summer. And they can get done that way, or they can just do it in one complete shot and get them done.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for coming by this afternoon.
Not a problem. Thank you for
And
having me.
if all of the young people in our service are like you, the service is doing very, very well.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. We really sincerely appreciate it. And I hope a lot of employers were listening this afternoon to find out the type of person that's in the Guard. If you portray that accurately, I'm sure 99.9% of the employers listening would love to have you as an employee.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Especially if they know you play poker.
Yeah, right. Yeah. During the commercial break here, you got a deck, Bob? Maddie Wegner, who is Specialist E4 Combat Medic with the U.S. Army National Guard. Signed up in November 26, 2008, going to school at UWM, working full-time at Potawatomi as a blackjack dealer, and in the National Guard. Thank you very much, Maddie.
Thank you.
We'll be back after these words.